With the catastrophic flooding that has taken place in British Columbia, concerns about what could happen with massive rainfalls in other parts of the country have been raised. Here in Toronto, we've seen examples of flooding before, so the question is, how bad could it get again?
When there's not so much room for that water to be absorbed by the ground, either because there's a lot of development there or because it's just such a small area, it'll quickly concentrate into rivers and streams.
In a city made up of ravines and valleys where water otherwise flows event-free, it can pose serious problems when the serious wet weather hits. Toronto has seen roads washed out, including the DVP, basements overrun, and the islands knee-deep. What should people in Toronto keep in mind about possible flooding in this area?
The most important thing to do is to know and understand your risks. It is possible to understand where our regulatory floodplain is in the GTA.
Across the GTA, there are actually over 40 areas that are at higher risk of flooding from rivers, including places like the Eglinton Flats, the Swansea neighborhood at the base of the Humber, and of course, the Portlands. This is the spot in Toronto that was hardest hit when Hurricane Hazel struck back in 1954. The Humber River behind me rose 20 feet, taking out a former footbridge and sweeping away 14 homes that were right here, also killing 32 people in the course of 1 hour.
The power of that event illustrated to us that some parts are meant to be left in their natural state, and the river, we need to leave room for the river. And so I think that's an important lesson that we've learned and been trying to apply over the last 60 years.
The summer of 2013 showed that the city is still vulnerable, with a record amount of rain forcing people to flee certain areas, no matter how much has changed in preparation for events like it.
The thing to remember is that flooding is not always predictable. We might understand where it might flood, but we can't always say when it might flood. And so we have to use a combination of tools to try to reduce that risk.
What are the chances something like that happens again?
Well, the fact that it's happened before tells us that it's possible for it to happen again. It could happen at any time. There is no flooding season. Hurricane Hazel indeed did happen to us in the fall, but sometimes we see other types of events like these summer thunderstorms.
Now, behind me is the Keating Channel in the Portlands, where there's actually a massive flood mitigation project going on right now. It's to make sure the Don River flows into Lake Ontario like it once did more than 100 years ago and no longer backs up, which has caused the water to rise. Over 100 meters of brand new riverbed is being created in what will eventually protect 240 hectares of land.